So what are major labels doing with AI? Some are filing lawsuits and others are creating licensing deals and joining forces. Today I'm going to be reacting to this video by a top music attorney, going over the different changes in AI and how it relates to major labels. Make sure you stay tuned to the very end of this video because working with AI platforms is a lot more than creating cool sounding music. If you get any type of placements or any type of success, not having this information can come back and bite you in the behind. So without further ado, let's get into it.
You know, I think I owe you guys an apology. We've spent so much time talking about how Universal has become a monopoly, is taking over the music business as well as the infrastructure, the platforms that you independent artists use. And I failed to talk about what Warner's been doing in the meantime. Of the biggest deals that Warner has been doing recently, we saw at the end of last year, Warner had closed a deal with Udio, which was huge. So meaning it's settled. So it dropped its case, its lawsuit against Udio related to stealing Warner songs. And then we were unbelievably shocked when it was announced that Warner settled with Suno as well. Warner is the only label in all the giant conglomerate of labels that came together to sue Suno, to step outside the pack and say, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and settle. So they took the check, they bought in, and I can almost guarantee they're not only getting a percentage of earnings from being on the platform, but they got a little piece of interest in Suno itself. Now, with that context, you gotta imagine the sales pitch to the shareholders, because I imagine with all of the AI stuff that has been going on, the value of music catalogs is unfortunately coming down. The value, the earnings on music platforms are less because now those earnings are being shared with the AI music that is flooding onto platforms like Spotify. Now, we care very much about this, including all the fraud with AI music because we represent independent creators.
When I see that, I just think, you know, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, man. It's like they're coming together to form these big, you know, conglomerates, really, you know, take from the independent music creators, take from the independent producers out there. You know, they're joining forces, and I'm wondering, like, are any of the actual artists on UMG getting any type of cut of this deal? Any kickback from it? Are they getting any publishing from the AI generated recording artists who are benefiting from their hard work? The evidence points to no. You know, they're taking from real people, getting their catalog, working with AI, generative AI platforms, and just profiting, you know, crazy, but it is to be expected. But let's go ahead and get back into the video.
Here's the update sent to the Warner shareholders, pushing back against any underappreciation of Warner's value in the financial market while taking up AI's potential to drive that value higher. Now, carving this into kind of two main issues, right? So companies that will come and take everyone's music without authorization, without paying them, that has to be addressed. And then the next phase of this is, well, for all future earnings, all the things, all the billions of dollars being made from AI generation. How you feel about that is up to you. You don't have to care, but that is impacting human creators in a not so good kind of way. Recent context is important. Despite healthy commercial momentum, both Warner and Universal's shares are currently trading significantly below their 52-week peaks. So basically, in responding to this, in this letter, Robert writes, quote, with Deezer reporting that more than 60,000 AI tracks are uploaded to its platform daily, with 7 million tracks generated per day on Suno alone, AI music's abundance has prompted understandable concern about oversupply, dilution, and the long-term value of recorded music.
That's interesting. So, you know, guys, one thing that prompts me to think about is, no pun intended when I say prompt, is that we see these different AI bands and AI artists pop up on Spotify and all these different platforms, right? Do you guys think that these are just, you know, people in their bedrooms just making some cool music? Maybe even somebody who's a part of a band feel like, okay, I have my inspiration, I just kind of want to create a super artist because I already know what I'm doing? Or do you feel like this could be some type of, I don't want to use the word conspiracy, this could be some type of creative use of content by the labels to kind of, you know, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. We're going to put out different AI recording artists out there, see if people can notice the difference. And if they still play it, you know, it's all good. Maybe this music isn't coming from just regular people. Maybe they're people actually working with major labels, you know, tinfoil hat moment. I could be wrong. That's just a thought that I had there. We'll see what happens, but let's get back into the video.
We see the same facts, but reach a different conclusion. All right, so he goes on to try to spin this. He goes, actually, guys, no need to sweat it. This is actually a great thing, and you're all going to make more money from this. Going on to say, quote, AI does not replace human artistry. It amplifies the importance of artists as familiar, beloved cultural icons in a jarringly noisy environment. Now, I will say on that point, totally agree, but I actually see it from the perspective of especially independent creators. This is where you're gonna win. You have to double down on brand. The fact that you are a human, that you can connect with your audience in a real kind of way. You will survive and you will thrive if you continue doubling down on your brand development, aka social media, aka post more.
Guys, this is a very huge tip. And if you guys want to survive the AI apocalypse that's going to take over social media and, of course, the music game, please make sure you build your brand. Make sure you posting yourself on social media. You see what I'm doing right here? This is actually just my cell phone, and I actually just have a miniature light right there off of Amazon, and I'm creating content. You guys can do the same thing. So, I know a lot of you guys are nervous. I know a lot of you guys are scared of criticism. You're trying something new, but it's essentially kind of like when you started music. At first, you weren't so good at your instrument or writing lyrics, but over time, you worked at it and you got better and better and better. You're essentially doing that same process when it comes to content creation. I encourage you guys to please get in front of the camera, share your thoughts, react, live stream, start a podcast. I pretty much do it all, but let's go ahead and get back into it.
To date, Warner has signed licensing deals with AI music platforms, Suno, Udio, Stability AI, and Clay. I will make note of this. In the whole, we did a deal, and there was supposed to be a new version, of licensed Warner music or the AI trained version that was going to come out from Suno this year. I mean, we're now in March, right? And then there's the whole walled garden versus open studio thing, which is with Suno, users will continue to be able to download outputs off of the platform, distribute them wherever they want to go, versus with Udio, part of the big deal, at least with Universal, was that it had to become this walled garden. That means AI outputs stay on the platform. To my point, Warner, the only major music company to have licensed Suno, while Universal, Sony have refused to license the platform, both remain in active litigation against it for alleged mass copyright infringement. As it relates to our class action lawsuit against Suno, I have an oral argument against Suno this month, and one of the points I'm going to make to the judge, just to say, again, let's remind ourselves, Suno has freely, openly, happily admitted to taking what it called tens of millions of songs to train on. I go, what is that? Is that 50 million? Is that 90 million? The majority of which we allege belong to independent music makers.
All right, that's interesting, guys. So it looks like a couple of the labels are, standing on business. They don't want the copyright of their, artists, of their catalog to be, used for some of these AI platforms. But personally, I'm just thinking that could be because, the money isn't right. The negotiation isn't to their liking. But I think inevitably they're all going to work with each other. WMG, UMG, and the rest. I think they're all going to eventually start working with each other once the numbers get right. So, guys, please prepare yourself. You don't want to stick your head in the sand and pretend like the market isn't changing. It's important that we stay informed, stay in communication with each other so we can come up with different ideas. And a lot of you guys share some of your perspective on using these platforms like Suno, some of the pros and cons. So, guys, make sure that you scan the comments as well. There's a lot of good information there, and I enjoy reading it. But let's go ahead and get back into the video.
So I just go in the whole okay, cool. You got to license 100,000 songs. Well, I guess if we go by the 50 million, what about the other 49,900,000 songs that aren't licensed that are in your training data set? Robert's letter going on to say, we are actively pursuing commercial strategies to increase the portion of our music publishing rights which are directly licensed by us. So kind of back to my point, if you're going to license to Suno and not request any kind of limitations to protect the underlying rights to your music, your publishing, thereby contributing to the continued dilution of the value of music in general. I mean, the argument for the major labels standing the good fight is at least in attempting to make what they own, which is the music catalog, to protect it, because that's the thing that if you have to be accountable to your shareholders, you going and essentially devaluing it, but then also in the same letter being like, we're gonna work on licenses and getting the publishing, something's not adding up.
You know, speaking of the dilution of music, you know, that's definitely happening as far as the quantity of music that's out there, especially in the streaming era. But another thing I want to talk about is the quality of music. You know, when an artist really stands out talent-wise, they really stand out talent-wise. And I think a part of that is because it has been a lot of, you know, copycat artists, copycat styles and things like that. I think AI is really going to exacerbate that issue or make that issue worse. And I think that it's also going to help the independent artists, independent producers, independent creators in general just stand out from the pack. So things are already watered down creatively. And if AI is training on that, and I think if you guys can really create just really unique styles of music, it's going to be easier for people to make the distinction, you know, as opposed to just, oh, I like that song or I like that music. You know, someone like Bruno Mars is very talented, but when I hear his music, it's like, I already like that. I already like that. So it's like, I already know before I listen to a Bruno Mars album that I'm going to already like it. And if you create something that's just off the beaten path, I think that's a great way to just separate yourself creatively from everyone else who's out there, especially once again, as AI imitates that. So let's get back into the video.
We are actively harnessing AI to win, and as our underlying strength, resilience, and performance come back into focus, I'm confident that all of our visionary work will be fully recognized. I don't know, we've had some things to say about Universal on this channel, but to Universal's credit, it seems to be taking a firm line in the protection of music, whether it's its music or not, which ultimately is gonna help in the protection of the music for independent music makers.
All right, guys, so what do you think? Do you think that UMG is going to eventually follow suit? Do you think they're going to stand on business? Or do you feel like eventually everything is just going to become one big collaboration amongst each other and, you know, AI is essentially just going to take over the music game? Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. We have to keep this conversation going so that way we can be informed and we can make some great decisions as the music landscape changes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like and subscribe. My name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace. Wait, before you go, make sure you go to DesmondASounds.com where you can get free FL Studio Patcher plugins, free loops, free guides, everything you need to level up your music production. Once again, go to DesmondASounds.com or click the link in the description. Go there now and totally transform your music production.